Right, hello, it's me. Yeah, uh, appeared on Look East today to talk about COVID Longtail. Wanted to speak up for the people who were untested because they stayed at home, and I said quite a bit about that. I showed them graphs and shared quite a bit of the data we got to actually show that this is definitely COVID related, what they've got. And Auntie Beeb didn't show it. I don't hold Kevin Burt's responsible. I don't hold the cameraman responsible. We've done a bit of digging around since, and it looks like someone high up at the BBC don't want it out there, that thousands of people in this country who have these long tail symptoms, because they stayed at home and self isolated and never got tested, are basically being completely and utterly ignored. And, well, apparently, a popular prescribing that doctors are now doing is anxiety. Well, I'm not surprised they're anxious. Are you? Because basically, heart palpitations, breathlessness, vision goes funny, all that. Um, what's wrong with you? You want to know. Well, and we can trace it. The group my friend Louise is running has enough data to actually show patterns. So as I say, we got graphs. We see how it works. I mean, like 15 weeks, it's going. Now, you put one in front of me, I'll tell you, right, that's 15 weeks. Another one, I'll say, well, it's 8 weeks. So, yeah, and the evidence is completely and utterly there. It's like all these major establishments, like Oxford or King's or Imperial, aren't actually leading the research into this thing. It's the research is actually being done from a house in Saxmundham. That's the real story that Lucky should have actually told. I mean, all this is being done, and the total dismissal of NHS England. You haven't been tested, well, it doesn't matter. And people being given the runaround, not being helped. And no, Louise didn't end up in hospital. He wasn't admitted to the hospital. So, it's complete crap. The same as the story they did before about the Wolsey Theatre. These private theatre companies are in trouble. Well, they won't actually mention that the Wolsey Theatre in Ipswich just happens to be owned by the Labour-run Ipswich Borough Council. Before I put that in, the whole thing, it's quite clear that this thing is real. And there's thousands of people across the country who are being totally let down and hung out to dry and shafted and totally shat on. And quite frankly, I'm not going to stay quiet about it. That's why I wanted to be on the telly to say it, because it needs to be out there that this is actually happening. It's an absolute bloody scandal that it is, and it needs to be said. Someone's got to say it, and it seems to all leave that NHS England, and it ends up on Sir Simon Stevens' door, actually. That fine gentleman who was the advisor to Tony Blair when they sold off all our care homes so that the care sector stopped getting the amount of funding it was getting before because the NHS gets the lion's share. I mean, it just, they just don't seem to want this in the public domain, but I'm going to put it in there on this YouTube video, which I'm doing now. And I mean, and the Secretary of State is telling them to do things and they're not doing it. For instance, the Secretary of State basically said, stop publishing the death stats. They're wrong. There is an anomaly. You're not recording them right because you're actually, if somebody had COVID and they die 3 or 4 months later, they're down as a COVID death, even if they were hit by a bus. And so they're all wrong. And he's stop publishing them. And there's actually, it's on the government website. We're not publishing them anymore. Hunt around NHS England, and guess what? They're still bloody publishing them, even though they're wrong. And the data that my friend Louise has got, because it includes people who have been in hospital, been tested positive, or just stayed at home and not being tested, there's a picture. It is more concise than what the NHS have. So when the NHS say hair loss is a rare consequence of Longtail, actually that's just not true. Hair loss is quite common. There's other weird stuff like women in their 50s when their youngest is 15 lactating. That's just there's no logical explanation for that, but you can't explain it. That's something that needs to be looked at. But basically, we got thousands of people around the country. This thing has done damage to them. And because they weren't tested positive, because they didn't go to get tested, they stayed at home with the symptoms, they're not being taken serious. They're just being totally ignored. They're not actually asking for a lot. All they actually want to do is have some tests done, whatever, just to find out what damage it's done and kind of basically what's wrong with them, either temporarily or permanently. It's all they want. It's not like they want you to build a big hospital or a clinic here and everywhere. So it's not a lot they're asking for. And they're just being totally shafted. And it's an absolute bloody disgrace. And I'm going to say it. And you see, and we go back to, it's absolutely outrageous that Sir Simon Stevens actually replied to an email, "Watch what I have to say on the Andrew Marr show." What he actually said on the Andrew Marr show was very unhelpful to people who have Longtail, who haven't been tested. The whole thing is completely bloody farcical. And then, she actually contacted him, well, go and watch Look East. And Look East they haven't actually said it. What needs to be said? So I'm saying it now. There's thousands of people being let down. And the Seacole Centre, and this is another area where the Secretary of State has said do something and it's not being implemented, right? He actually said it's a national centre for tested and untested patients. That's actually on the NHS website. And I believe that that was the intention. But but guess what? This is absolute disgrace. You have to be tested. Actually, more than that, the bloody thing has to put you in hospital before you can go there. And then it's even worse than that. You have to live in Surrey. I mean, like, what's so bloody special about Surrey? Yeah, I'm not going to have it that the government is behind this, because this is a one nation Conservative government. This is the first government to be elected in decades that actually won by not sucking up to Middle England. But there are civil servants and people high up in the NHS hierarchy who have got into the mentality of sucking up to Middle England, and that they are actually only helping people in Surrey. Now, one of the things I am now planning on doing is finding out where Sir Simon Stevens and all his mates live, to actually find out why it's been put in Surrey. I think we know where they live, don't we? Yeah. It's not the government at fault. NHS England are at fault. And they're actually fucking people around and letting people down all over the country. And it's a fucking disgrace. And I'll say it. And I'm not going to keep quiet about it.